You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 106. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is a membership growth consultant at JenCare Senior Medical Center. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by his story. Let's chop it up with Kareem Lopez. Kareem, how's it going, man?
Doing really well. How you doing? DB?
Glad to hear that, man. All is well on my end, too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
I greatly appreciate your time, and thank you so much for honoring me with such an opportunity. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Hornet.
No doubt. Yes, sir. Of course, we're here to talk about all the great things you've been doing as a consultant in the sales space. But before we go there, let's get to know the man behind it all. I know you grew up in Jamaica. What was your upbringing like in Jamaica?
Got it. So actually, all my family were from Jamaica originally, but I was actually born in Fort Hood, Texas. My father is retired Army, retired Sergeant Major, John Lopez. So we did a lot of traveling. I had a lot of fun when we spent some time in Europe. And then my father retired at Fort Rucker, Alabama. That's now Fort Navasel. They've actually changed the name since Rucker was actually a Confederate officer. So they've done a lot of great things when it comes to the Army. And my father, thank God for him being a soldier, because that gave me the opportunity to be in the middle class automatically because of his sacrifice of his 22-year career. So
wow, man! Shout out to Pops, man. Much respect to Pops, man.
100%. Him and my mom, they've been married since 1981. So I definitely look up to them when it comes to how to be a man and how to be an overall great human being.
That's a blessing, for real, since 1981. So you being a military brat, not calling you a brat, but that's the term that they use.
Oh,
military.
no. The term doesn't bother me. I take it as a term of endearment. I'm like, hey, look, if you want to say military brat, tomato, whatever works. All I know is that I didn't live in the hood, and I can't say I'm from the ghetto. I can say that I lived in such a way where we were blessed to not have to worry about certain things being on the military base. When it came to being safe and secure, those are things that really, made my life that much easier and that much better.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with growing up middle class, having food, clothing, shelter, man. I grew up in a similar way, not in the military realm, but just middle class. So yeah, a lot of people, they glorify this whole getting out the mud. That was never my situation either, man.
Yeah, it is really interesting how the middle class is struggling more than everybody else than everybody else. It's really interesting because we're not struggling enough to get food stamps, but we're not rich enough to not worry about all the struggles of the middle class. It's really interesting.
Right, no doubt, man. So just overall, what was your experience in terms of going from school? I know you was I'm sure you was in a couple of schools while you were being a military kid. What was that like adjusting to those different schools you had to transfer to?
I loved it. My parents had conversations with me about, how change makes you, how being the new kid is a great thing because you get an opportunity to introduce yourself. You get an opportunity to be whoever you want to be. So I really instilled that in my life in general. Not having to be concerned with having been somewhere for longer than about 5 to 7 years. Not having to be concerned with being one of those kids that everybody knew him already. So I got an opportunity to really walk in and have a great impression off rip. So being a military kid was one of the best examples of being able to just have your own elevator pitch and create your own opportunity out of nothing. So people got to know me based upon my merit, not based upon my reputation or my family's reputation that they may or may not even know to be true.
Man, that's so powerful that you use being the new kid on the block to your advantage.
I loved it.
That's so dope, man.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Like even when I got to Alabama State, like it was absolutely amazing being a new kid. I've always been that way where, I stay ready, so I don't got to get ready. So not worried about being new because, everybody's new to somebody.
No doubt. And that just speaks to just your parents and just how they raised you and just instill that confidence and had those conversations with you and had those conversations with you. And it just go to show how impactful parents can be for good and bad. In your
It,
situation, good, man.
and you know what's funny? I quote my parents now more in my late 30s than I ever did in my entire life. Like my parents, I'm serious because it's funny when you a teenager and you're in your early 20s, like, oh, they know what they were talking about,
Right.
not knowing they've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and especially with my 8-year-old. I have 8 years of parenting experience. My
Mhm.
parents been doing it way longer than I have, so I call for advice constantly.
Nothing wrong with that, man. And it's so interesting that you say that because when our parents giving us that game when we in our teens, we like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. That's the old school way. But like you said, when you get in your 30s, you be like, man, mama
It
was right.
sinks in.
Daddy was
It
right.
sinks in most definitely. Oh yeah, it goes a long way, and I appreciate my parents for every single jewel that they give me every day. Whether it's my mother praying with me or my father just giving me some game, like I appreciate it 100%. Because for somebody to be able to pray for you, for somebody to be able to consider you in such a way to deliver and bring your name up to God specifically, it means so much because they didn't have to do it, but they chose to do something for you in such a way. For somebody to give you some advice, that means that they saw something in you, knowing that advice wasn't going to go in one ear and come out the other. So I appreciate it every single time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So since we're talking about the Alabama State University, the greatest
Yes, sir.
HBCU in the land, what was the
Where we
HBCU?
teach class, the world takes notes, sir.
You better believe
Yes,
it.
sir.
No doubt. So let's talk about your HBCU experience. What was that like for you?
Alabama State it changed my entire trajectory because I actually started at Alabama State when I was 23 years old
Mm.
because I was a non-traditional student. I transferred into Alabama State, so my outlet, especially being a Jamaican kid born in America, all I knew was Jamaica. All I knew was military bases, and I never really quite understood the whole African American experience. So one of my cousins, Giovanni Barnes, he actually let me know he was bigging up Alabama State for me, and then I actually saw a recruiter that recommended for me to do the One Black College app, which you can actually apply for 65 HBCUs with $20.
Mm.
And what I did was I put my $20 on the table, and I was able to apply for several HBCUs. And at the time, I was actually a music business. Alabama State University has one of the only music business programs in the entire nation. And during that time period back in '07, when I got to Alabama State, I was like, I'm going to utilize this opportunity. So I started off in music business, and that was around the time when Napster got big. So I ended up changing my major from music business into marketing, which was one of the best decisions I could ever make. And Alabama State, it's the professors. They just taught me so much. Like I remember Dr. White when he was teaching African American humanities. That was my first time hearing about Madam C.J. Walker. My first time hearing about the Black Wall Street. My first time hearing about the book Our Kind of People. And it was just really interesting just finding out so much in one class. And those were things that growing up in a Jamaican household and growing up on military bases, the Daughters of the Confederacy, they did their job. Like the most I really knew about the Black community during that time period was I knew some because I read books, encyclopedias during that time period,
Mhm.
but I felt like I didn't really quite know the Black community the way I do now. And Alabama State really propelled my pro-Blackness and propelled how I feel about the African American, the African diaspora in general, and just the community on the campus of Alabama State University, and just knowing that professors cared about how I felt. They cared about my outlook. I wasn't seen as a number. I was seen as a whole person, and it gave me an opportunity to be the best Black man I could be. And starting at 23 and ending Alabama State when I was 28, 29, being F5 and a half, F5 years and change changed my whole trajectory, changed my whole life outlook. And the reason why I started at 23 was because I actually found out that I could get grant money because that the tough part about growing up in a military in a military household, which is a middle class household, I didn't have the opportunity to be able to get those same opportunities of grant money at a young age. So when I found out the game, that my father actually put me on, it changed my whole outlook on things. So I waited a little bit to go to college, but Alabama State was the best place for me, and especially now being an esteemed alumnus in the 50-50 in the 50-50 class of last year, class 6, we outside. I have a pride for Alabama State University that no one can take away. And I represent Alabama State every opportunity I get. And happy Bama State Day to everybody today on August 14th.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff, man. Absolutely. Ain't nothing like old Mother Dear. And
Nothing at all.
Dr. White,
Nothing at all.
man. And Dr. White, to your point, Dr. White, he definitely made me proud to be black because I knew what it meant to be black, but I thought I knew what it meant to be black. Dr. White, man, he used to give us so much game, and he ain't try to sugarcoat it either. He used to be straight, raw, and cut with it, man.
It was absolutely amazing. I swear, African American Humanities is my most memorable class at Alabama State. And coming in I think I was like maybe a second semester freshman or like a first semester sophomore, one or the other when I transferred in. It just felt amazing to be able to walk into that type of class and get the game. And he was really able to open my eyes to a lot of things that I just didn't know. And I felt bad about it after taking the class. I was like, wow, why didn't I know these things? But if they didn't catch them in a history book, I knew about Caribbean history and Jamaican history, of course, but African American history, I was thirsty for it. And the HBCU experience 100% quenched my thirst, and still hasn't stopped ever since.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So you started out music business major, then you came over to COBA. If you know,
yes,
you
sir.
know.
Yes, sir. COBA, and it's funny because Dean Vaughn, I actually met his sister. His older sister. She's like in her late 80s, early 90s. I met her at a food pantry because, working with JenCare, I work with a lot of seniors. And I met her at a food pantry, and I actually took a picture with her. I was so proud. I was like, wait a minute. You grew up with Dean Vaughn? And it was funny because we were laughing, and I would tell her how Dean Vaughn, would cuss me out from time to time. He was like, because that's just the way he was. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you could be doing better, Lopez. You pull your grades up, Lopez. And it just made me so proud to meet her because she's a Morris Brown graduate. Because I found out that Dean Vaughn and his sister had graduated from Morris Brown with their undergraduate degree. That's where that deep history of HBCU graduates comes from. And it was just something about COBA, something about knowing that you had a standard, something about knowing that you had to walk in suited and booted and ready to go. It was nothing like it.
Yeah, you're right. And Dean Vaughn, definitely a legend and long live, and may God rest his soul. But Dean Vaughn, he taught us how to dress, how to present. Like the COBA, man, it just set us up for success, man, just in life. Because you had to present in every class. You had to write a paper in every class. It was no games.
None at all. And it's funny because a lot of those things that were instilled in COBA, I do to this day.
Right.
Where I can get in front of a crowd and I'm confident. I can meet anybody and I'm confident. I know that COBA instilled those attributes into me that made me feel even more special being an Alabama State University graduate and being an HBCU graduate. I feel that special sauce from Alabama State above all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. So let's delve into what you got going on professionally as a consultant. Tell us a little bit about that.
Got it. So I work with JenCare Senior Medical Center. I'm a membership growth consultant at JenCare Senior Medical Center here in the Atlanta metro area. We have 6 locations. And with those locations, our goal is to save as many seniors as possible. Our cardinal principles are going to be love, accountability, and passion. So every single time I meet a senior, and whether it be a food pantry, whether it be at a Rose's store, or whether it be at a dollar store, whether it be at a community center, wherever seniors are, that's where I am. And I do what I do, not only because it's lucrative, but also because I want to be able to look into the eyes of somebody that's in the same age bracket as my parents, my aunts, my uncles, and be able to talk to them about their options. Let them know that at JenCare, you can have a primary care doctor that cares about you specifically as the whole senior that you are, versus being in a lot of places, not going to speak for the Atlanta market, a place like Grady or a place like Emory, where each and every one of those doctors has about 5,000 patients. Versus at JenCare, our doctors that only have about 500 patients, which is going to give that senior an opportunity to not only work with a doctor that has a lot less patients, a doctor where you can actually get their cell phone number. You can actually have direct access as a senior to your doctor. And you can put yourself in an advantageous position where that can add an additional 5 to 7 years of your life. So JenCare is going to be a direct partnership with Humana Insurance Company, and ChenMed is going to be the mother company that was started in 1984 by the Chen family of doctors. Dr. Chen, his two sons, and his daughter-in-law, they're all medical doctors. And Dr. Chen, back in 1984, he actually had terminal cancer. So when he had terminal cancer, they told him he only had 2 months to live. He went to Imagine a doctor going to another doctor to get an appointment, and they told him he wasn't going to be able to get another appointment for 3 months. So what he did was he got with his sons, he got with his daughter-in-law, and they leveraged a lot of their payees and or our insurance providers to be able to create JenCare. And nationwide, we actually have ChenMed, we have JenCare, and we have dedicated senior that are going to be all underneath the ChenMed umbrella to make sure that we're bringing the best possible care to seniors nationwide. And we're building more locations, and we're out as far west as Texas. And it's nothing but opportunity for growth and nothing but opportunity to build a great operation that is going to go far and bring love, accountability, and passion to every population that needs a PCP-led care team, that needs primary care doctors that care about seniors in particular. Seniors that have Medicare Advantage Part A and Part B can become our members. As long as you're 55 and older and you have those credentials of having Medicare Part A and B, you can become a member at JenCare. And not only that, we provide transportation. We also provide a pharmacy that's right there inside the clinic, which when I tell, because I'm not selling anything at the end of the day, I'm not selling a timeshare. I'm just letting them know that simply this is a better opportunity for you to not only get everything that you need all in one place for the most part, but we also have events. So, like for instance, I actually did a book writing and publishing class last week, and next week I'm actually doing a puppetry arts workshop where we actually have a master puppeteer that was actually a puppeteer with Jim Henson back in the day before he passed. And at the end of the month, I'm actually having a space tournament. So imagine going to a place where you could be a senior and you can have fun, you can see a primary care doctor, and you can enjoy the entire experience of being a senior where you can enjoy yourself and add an additional 5 to 7 years of your life and have fun at the same time. Like every single week we do Sit and Be Fit. Every week we do Tai Chi, and every Friday we do line dancing. It's just an amazing opportunity. And once I found out, I said, I signed right up, because I would set my parents up for success the same way I set up every senior that I signed up every day.
Man, that's so powerful, man. So you're literally in a space benefiting, like you said, people that are in the same age bracket as your parents. Pretty much you treating them the way you want your parents to be treated, going to their primary physician, primary doctor. And I think that's so dope, man, because a lot of our seniors, a lot of our elders, and let's call a spade, our elders who look like us, they don't get that health care. They don't get that treatment that they necessarily deserve when they go into these, I ain't gonna name no hospitals, but like you named a couple that's in Atlanta. There's a couple in Montgomery. Like they go there and they get treated like gum under the bottom of your shoe, for lack of better words.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it, especially when I'm talking to seniors, I always remind them that, do you want to be a number, or do you want to be a whole person? Do you want to be treated with respect? Do you want that love of accountability and passion, or do you want to go somewhere where your opinion doesn't matter, your doctor doesn't understand you, and or they see you as a commodity and a paycheck? Or do you want to come to a place like JenCare where, it's funny, I've actually used this analogy quite a few times. Imagine, you're a defendant and you have a public defender that has hundreds of cases. Would you rather be represented by somebody like that, or would you rather come dealing with an attorney that has one case, your case, to make sure you get out free? That's the way I look at JenCare. JenCare is an opportunity for seniors to be free of all of the commodity issues that come with the healthcare system that does not care about them. And they end up slipping through the cracks for reasons that are beyond their understanding. And And the quote, once a man, twice a child, is so true with these seniors. You're dealing with people that have been through the civil rights movement. You're dealing with people that have a story that can be written a million times over. They deserve amazing health care. And JenCare is the answer to that.
Yes, sir, man. That's beautiful, man. Like just providing that safe space for the seniors. And like you said, you got doctors. You're more than just a number. Like you're an actual human being because that's what they are at the end of the day. They're humans. Like they need to be seen. And you don't and another thing, when you got a doctor that's dealing with all these patients, it's very easy to misdiagnose somebody and get them the wrong medication. And
100%.
I've seen it, man, just in my own family. Like you could be mixed, like an elder could be misdiagnosed because Dr. So and so got all these patients and they ain't paying attention to detail. Like you said, you just a commodity, you just a paycheck. You come in like, okay, this is what's wrong with you. We're gonna give you this medicine and give you something that completely mess you up and give you it's crazy. But I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing and you
Oh yeah. Oh
take
yeah.
them in a
And
safe
above
space, man.
all, it's really interesting. Like every time I sign up a new patient, I explain to them that their first appointment is not with your doctor. Your first appointment is get your labs done and to check your echo, which is your heart. And which means that by the time you actually get to your first appointment with your doctor, which is normally within 2 weeks of that initial appointment, your doctor already knows you on paper,
Mm,
which means that they can actually diagnose you correctly.
nice.
You can bring in your all of your prescriptions that you've already been taking from your past doctors that you may or may not even need in the first place, and they can actually look at your labs, look at your echo, see what's going on with you, so that they feel like they already know you before you even walk in the room. How powerful is that?
Very powerful, man. Like that's amazing. Like before, like you just said, when they go see their doctor, he already know what's what. I mean, that's what it's all about. Because to be honest with you, Kareem, we need our elders to if we can spare them 5 to 7 years, we need them more now than ever. Like this world is an interesting place, and we need that game. We just need our elders, man. Like that's great what you got rocking and rolling over there, but
Oh, most definitely. And people don't realize you have thousands of people turning 65 every day in the United States of America. Thousands of people. The baby boomer generation is getting bigger and bigger, and they're living longer and longer because of places like JenCare, because of places that actually care about their well-being. They want to see them happy. They want to see them active. I've seen these seniors line dance. I've seen these I've seen these seniors talk trash at these spades game and these checkers tournaments I do. Man, they have some spirit. And it's absolutely amazing. You throw on some Motown, they will cut a rug. You hear me?
I love it, man. I love it. So prior to getting into this space that you're in now, servicing our elders, I know you were working for Enterprise as a sales consultant, and man, you were well on your
Yes,
way to,
sir.
yes, sir. You were well on your way to climbing the ladder. Like it took a lot of audacity, man, to pivot out of where you could have ultimately been the big dog to be where you are now. Who or what gave you that courage, that audacity?
Well, one of the things that changed my whole outlook, because I'm happily divorced. I can definitely admit that. And my daughter's mom and I we're still best of friends. We just weren't good spouses. But I will say that quality time that is needed with my daughter. She's 8 years old, Lauren Michelle Lopez. That changed my whole outlook because I had been with Enterprise it was almost 8 years. It was a long ride. And one of the books that I read before I even transferred from Austin, Texas, where I was living, where Lauren was born, to Atlanta, was Steve Harvey's book Jump, and it really gave me a lot of fortitude to be able to just to jump and just go get it and do something different, step outside the box, step outside your comfort zone. Because it's funny, one of my mentors, one of my homeboys, father, he gave me a great quote. He said, "The devil doesn't like a moving target." So with me, my outlook on life is just like that. I'm not gonna stop moving. And another quote I get from Nelson Mandela that I quote every day: "I never lose. I either win or I learn." So I didn't take leaving Enterprise as a loss. I took it as a learning experience. And it's funny, when I got with JenCare, my center director, his name is Lewis. He actually is an Enterprise alum, and actually 3 or 4 of my colleagues at JenCare I work at now happen to be Enterprise alums. And me working for Enterprise with their amazing opportunity when it comes to their training, when it comes to sales management in general, opened up more doors for me. This essentially recruiters were reaching out to me for me to work for their companies based upon my enterprise experience. So enterprise made a gigantic difference for me, and it still does to this day. So thank you, Enterprise Holdings.
No doubt, man. And like, it's great to hear you speak highly of a former company because
Oh, of
that's
course,
not,
of course.
yeah, that's amazing because at the end of the day, like you said, like, well, just summed up what you said, like, Enterprise gave you an opportunity and you took that opportunity and you made room for your current opportunity and like not being afraid to jump. And you know what, though?
Of course not.
You get that from that military background you spoke about early. Like you always ready to
Exactly.
change and pivot.
Well, well, that's one thing that like my mother and father, when they left Jamaica, they had to pivot.
Mhm.
My father was a firefighter in Jamaica, and he came over and ended up, becoming a janitor and a cab driver in New York City. My mother, she was working for the local government in Jamaica, and she ended up doing a lot things along the same line. And I just look at my parents, coming from Jamaica as immigrants into a brand new country that they had never lived in. That, of course, back in Jamaica where they call it foreign, it's you're feeling like you're walking into streets of gold. It's like and you when you get here, you realize that it's not what you thought it was. Then the reality of life hits. So if they can do it, I can do it, and my child can do it even more so. Because the way I look at it is, America is an opportunity, and I'm going to utilize it every single day that the Lord gives me breath. Period.
No doubt, man, and that's something that I've always respected about uh, people like your parents that come from other countries. Man, y'all come over here to America, man, and y'all get after it, like, because the conditions that y'all come from to get over here, and like just hearing you talk about your father being a firefighter and leaving that to come over to the States just for an opportunity, that takes a lot of courage. So I see where you get your audacity from, man. That's amazing.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Because the way I look at it is, if I sleep on my opportunity, I am telling my father I don't care about his sacrifice. If I sleep on my opportunity, I'm telling my parents that got together in 1981, when I was born in 1984, that I don't care about what they went through. I
Mm.
don't care about what they did to be here. That the 22 years my father put into the army doesn't matter. And I'm not going to live in that life. I'm going to do everything I can every day to grind, to go get it, put forth that grit. And it doesn't matter if I'm broke because I'm paying my bills, which that's a different kind of broke. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And I'm going to go get it. And as long as it's legal, right, and makes sense, I'm going to give it that love, accountability, and passion. And nothing can stop me but me.
Hey, man, you just said, you just spoke a lot of gems, a lot of game, man. And to be honest with you, like, I, it really just blessed me, man. And I'm pretty sure it's going to bless others who hear this. Like, really, like, it really, what you just said really just took me to a place of like remembering all the, all the crap that our ancestors have gone through. Like, they went through all that just for us to have this opportunity for us to not take full advantage of it. Like, that'd be such a slap in their face to not be the best we can be, man. So that's amazing that you wake up with that mentality every day. I don't lose, either I learn. Either I win or I learn.
Yes, sir. That's it. That's it. And it's funny because I like every day I tell my daughter the same thing. I never lose, I either win or I learn. I never lose, I either win or I learn. And that affirmation is so simplistic. But Mandela, imagine being in prison for decades and you instill that in people still, that all of that time that he put forth in prison, being a freedom fighter for his country in South Africa, to become the president of the entire country that still enslaved him to this day is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful to know that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And my parents are the giants I stand on the shoulders of, and your parents, and so on, and every single Hornet that has ever been through the doors of Alabama State University.
Absolutely, man, without a doubt. So you've done great things as a consultant in the sales space, been rocking and rolling in that space for a long time. So in terms of vision, what's next for you? What's your short-term and long-term goals?
Got it. So short term, I want to own a home within the next 2 years. I actually just signed a 2 year lease back in May, and with that, the home ownership will open up opportunity for equity, opportunity for generational wealth. Long term, it's funny. Dr. White, he actually asked, "What would you do for free?" That was, and it's funny. It was astounding to me and my to me and my classmates. I'm like, wait a minute, I came to Alabama State to make money. Like,
Right.
so you asking me what would I do for free? And it's funny. My girlfriend and I, we were talking about it the other day, and what would I do for free? I would mentor. I would teach. Do. I would do a lot of wealth building, and above all, I would do a lot of coaching. And I want to invest and I want to be able to create opportunity for people of colors, specifically Caribbeans, specifically Jamaicans, specifically anybody within the African diaspora, to make them even much so better. So that's what I would do for free, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life when it comes to my long-term goals. And I want to be in a position where my children's children don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for college, don't have to worry about how they're going to lift up their head in this world or struggle in any way. I want to be able to make those things happen for them and go from there.
Yes, sir. Those are great short-term and long-term goals, and I have no doubt you'll make them all come to fruition, man.
Thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. As we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected with the Gump, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it military, college, or work. You being here to attend the Alabama State University. I want to ask you, Kareem, what do you appreciate the most about your time in the Gump?
I feel like Montgomery allowed me to grow up. Prior to living in Montgomery, I had traveled, I had seen the world in my own way, but I didn't really quite feel like I knew myself the way I should. And by the time I got to Alabama State University, and by the time I graduated Alabama State University, matriculated through and graduated, I feel like Montgomery taught me so much about myself that I owe it to the city, I owe it to Alabama State University, and I owe it to everybody that I was blessed to cross my path during that time period. And I can't imagine being anywhere else from my college experience. And it's interesting looking at the Montgomery Brawl the other day. We had I go to I'm a member of the Dream Center Church of Atlanta, where we refer to ourselves as Dreamer. And our bishop is going to be Bishop William Murphy III. He actually mentioned being fearless in the message, and he mentioned being fearless when it comes to how you look at the world, and how you look at your beautiful Black self. And I believe Montgomery helped me become fearless. Thank you, Montgomery. Thank you, Gump Time.
Powerful stuff, brother. So how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles?
Got it. So you can find me at Kareem Lopez on Facebook, and then on Instagram, I'm also known as Skeet Mob, SKEETMAB. I'm a member of A5Q, Alpha Phi Omega National Service Fraternity, where we say yo Mike, you're a Skeet, yo Skeet, and then also I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma, the greatest fraternity in the land. Shameless plug. Where we have a culture of service of humanity. So put those two things together. That's my name on Instagram. But thank you so much for the opportunity, good brother. I appreciate you, DB.
Yes, sir. And of course, I'll put all those social media handles in the description of the episode. And I thank you once again for the conversation, Kareem. I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, good brother. You have a blessed evening, and I hope that everything I said gives somebody some kind of enrichment, some kind of hope, and some kind of love to wake up every day and be better. Have a blessing.
Yes, sir. You too. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.